It's Saturday morning. That's right, Collectors Radio. Well, actually, we get the program up. It's actually up really late Friday night, as the clock ticks right on over to midnight on Saturday. So those of you that are up really early get a chance to just tune in. So I kind of decided to do that. That way, it pretty much is up all through the witching hour and whatnot, what have you. So, and of course we film these slightly in advance. That way, so we can get these things up and edited, or well, not really edited, but just adjusted for you for the program and everything to get it up there. And then we read the comments. Again, I'm on the comments. If you're, we try to do this as close to the deadline as we can to the Saturday morning, so that I can read all the comments. But if you do happen to get in there and comment a little late, we may not see your comment and we may not read it. Also, for whatever reason, if the system decides to hold your comment and I don't see that, you may have commented, and it's not that we're skipping over it. It's just it didn't show up. For some reason, it got pulled or held back. So it is we're coming near to the end of October, unfortunately. This is the last Collectors Radio of October. October being my favorite month. So William Shatner. But then again, I celebrate Halloween all the time. So it's my favorite. So anyway, let's get to reading some comments here. We'll roll through this. All right, first one up in no particular order. Danger Man. And of course, if you have any questions or whatever, throw them in the comments. We'll answer them. And I think we do have a question this time around. Danger Man says, here's a tip if you hate fingerprints on your blued revolver. There is a product called Renaissance Wax available on Amazon. You put a light coat of wax and rub it in. I find the best results are to put a second coat on after about a week. Okay, it shines up real nice and protects the finish. Nothing more annoying than fingerprints on your pride and joy. Thank you. All right, Scottish American. Hey, the crazy. Well, I'm pretty sure he's still crazy, but we always like the crazy Scotsman up there. Now, Scottish American. Sorry. All right. Some fine example of classic Smiths. You're 100% right, brother. You got to watch the budget and make a smart decision when it comes to collecting. Otherwise, we wouldn't be able to enjoy the ones we have and look forward to the future acquisitions. Yeah, and that's that's another thing too we talked about. I for one do not have the budget to just buy whatever I want, and take off and do so. Layaway is like my best friend, and credit cards and whatnot. So, but you got to be careful. Don't set yourself into, you just don't throw yourself into debt and just to, have something cool, and sometimes I will. I'll buy something that's flawed, because somebody will say, well, the true collector's not going to want that one because it's got some slight holster wear on the muzzle. For me, if it's something like, like for instance, I think we were talking about the, what was it? Move the mic here so we you can hear me. Sorry, all the bobbling. But if it was the Colt Diamondback Snubby from Bullet, with Steve McQueen. If there was one out there with some wear and tear on it a little bit, and it instead of it being $2,500 or whatever the crazy number they're going for, and the guy says, well, I want $1,500 for it, I'd probably be an interest buyer at that point, because it would scratch the itch for the owning that from the movie, because I really like that movie. All right, Jerry Johnson, number 2 thumbs way up on the Collectors Radio Show. Awesome, thank you. Looking forward to the next one. So hopefully you're here, Jerry. Sweet revolvers. We got a revolver here for you, Jerry. All right, Joe P. Question. One of the comments mentioned collecting all the guns from Magnum Force, which is a fantastic idea. Did you ever collect them all years ago when you're focused on revolvers? So years ago, Joe, I did buy the 4-inch Python blued that was actually kind of beat up a little bit, but it was a very early one, if I remember right. The serial number was really low on it. I had that one kind of because of the movie Magnum Force, and of course having the Dirty Harry gun and everything. To when you mean collect them all, I mean to kind of go through the whole film and kind of like look at everybody's kind of of course that's like insane. But the main ones that were featured in there, the first one, obviously the motorcycle cops with the python, the 4-inch python, and then of course Dirty Harry. But if you look at some of the other ones, I think Hal Holbrook Briggs. I think if you look at it carefully when he draws his gun on Harry, I think he has a Smith & Wesson Snubby 19, and of course that goes flying out the window when he bats his head into the dashboard. You can actually see the thing flying out the window. I'm sure I'm not the only one that just like cringed when they saw that. But yeah, that I mean, for me, a lot of times, yeah, when it's like, if it's like a couple of pieces that I really have an interest in, sure. The Getaway, Steve McQueen, Ally McCraw's, directed by Sam Peckinpah. The Shotgun and the old classic 1911, that would be something that, would definitely, something like that. But to go and collect every little piece in there, I mean, if you had the finances, but no, yeah, I definitely sought after the 4-inch python for that reason, for that movie, so I had gotten rid of those over time, and just because again, back to just wanting other things and not being able to afford it. So the unfortunate thing is we trade off things or sell off things, and I think we've all done it. Slimfire 54, JW, thanks for the Collectors Radio talk and reading the comments. I think we all enjoy it, and I don't know of any other channel that reads people's comments. Definitely know what you're saying about buying firearms. It's fun to collect, but when you have to draw the line, thanks. Thank you, Slim. P.S. I can't stand flies in the house too. Yeah, actually, we're entering the cold season now, so actually, hence the sweater here, or the not Freddy Krueger sweater. Yeah, it's getting colder out. The house right now is about 60 degrees, so which is nice. I like the cold weather. I really do. I think the weather is fantastic right now out here in the desert. So no, yeah, I appreciate that, and I'm sure I try to read the comments, try to, connect with you folks, try to keep it, there's definitely a line to draw with that too. I mean, if the comment section was just like overbearingly, there's just so many of them, and what I hate to do, I don't want to just like breeze over them either, I just want to try to at least answer them to an extent. But I mean, if they're too like rude and crude, I'm not going to be able to read them out here. All right, Sean Lee, I've got the American Western Arms Peacekeeper. Are you familiar with that? I am not. I know of Great Western, but no, I'm not. That's or I'm sure that's the brand. Not a Colt, but still a nice single-action revolver. I actually didn't bring it. I have it over there. I didn't bring it. I love my Cimarrons or whatever. They're basically made either by Uberti or Pieta over there in Italy, and I love them. I even have a 92 rifle and chambered in 4440, which I don't think we've even videoed it on the channel. I have to bring that out for you folks. All right, we got one. I'm not going to be able to pronounce your name the way I'm sure you've intended it, but we'll put a little ethnic spin on it. It is fokx. What car would you compare a Smith & Wesson Performance Center Model 13, the PC 13 to? Enjoy your videos. Well, the interesting thing about I thought about this about cars, and Smith & Wesson reminds me a lot like Ford. They really, they have that old school history and everything. Of course, Henry Ford and the history with, the gangster days and all that kind of stuff, which is awesome. And then, of course, now they got their Performance Center stuff out now. And I'm not a huge car guy, but I would compare it to probably one of their new deluxe model. I forget. I used to work with a guy that had a Ford really nice little kind of street, racer kind of car, if you call that. But yeah, I guess that would be my best thing on that. Enjoy your video. Thank you. KSFWG. I've had those times where I've eaten beef bouillon with ramen noodles and worked a second job to buy a gun I really wanted. A lot of us have been there. Yeah. It just, work, right? Many hours. All right. 2012 JCC. You should have Centuria on the show to show his cowboy guns. I think you're talking about Santee, so from the Arizona Ghost Riders. Yeah, he does have some. I've actually been really lacking on cowboy single actions myself, but yeah, they're a lot of fun, and we'll have to see. We'll have to contact old Santee there. JW. Sorry, I need glasses. It's getting to that point. The Bill Shatner coffee cup. All right. MK SHFFR. Sorry, I'm not sure how. I'm more of a Mercury or Lincoln man myself. Lincoln Lawyer was an interesting movie. Lion Quest Fitness. Yep. The 19 and 66 snubs are definitely Cadillacs. Too bad Smith & Wesson doesn't make guns of that kind of quality anymore. We have a couple of replies to that. Scottish American, yeah, the newer ones are nowhere near the same. They call them classics, classic line, but nowhere they even come close to being the same. So sad. Amen. By that. If I had one big giant complaint about those modern ones, I would say it would be the key lock. But anyway, Kyle Wood says mac and cheese works too. Yes, it does. On that note, since it's fresh on the mind here, when you talk about a lot of those classics, and Joe P made a good point, and must not forget that too. When you live somewhere where it may not necessarily be easy to go up and pick up a nice vintage Smith, like something like this, where you can't exactly just go and pick them up, and where the classic line are available, and you have the ability to pick one of those up. On that note, I'm glad that they do offer things like the classic line and whatnot. I actually have an interest in buying the classic line Model 19 myself, 4-inch, because just it looks cool. And for me, the classic line doesn't really bother me. It does enable me to find them out there that perhaps to be a shooter. I'm sure most of us collectors and whatnot, and I'm sure Joe P would agree with me, if you did see, if it was either the classic line here or the vintage one, from 79 or whatever, sitting right there, I'm sure depending on the price, and if it was only, the price was either right up with each other, because a lot of the classic stuff is kind of on par where they should be, but you can almost get an older Smith for either the same or sometimes less on the cash price tag. But I'm sure most of us would just grab that original classic, versus the classic line or whatnot. So, yeah, and I understand that, and we forget sometimes. Some of us we don't have the availability. When I lived on the island, I was not able to just get collectibles, like this really cool original, World War II, 1911. I was not able to just go right out to either a gun show or a shop and just go and fondle one and pick one up and make the decision. It was kind of limited. And, when you have one guy in town, one show, one guy that, that possibly has it, and, he's able to pretty much set his price to whatever he desires or damn well feels like it, because he knows he's the only game in town. So there's always that. Places like Gunbroker and whatnot are good, and then they're bad. The good thing is that it gives the majority of us, like back when I lived on the island, I was able to pick up something that somebody, he was like, oh yeah, I have one of those, but I also want $1,500 for it. And I just, it's like, whoa, that's insane. When you're making minimum wage, and on the island, and that minimum wage is like really junk, that's just, that's not even in the ballpark, so go to Gunbroker, find one that's got a couple scratches on it, and it's like $400, so in that on that aspect, it's great, and you can find good things on there. You can. I have, and I've bought them, and it does serve its purpose. But the bad part of it is you get people out there, and hey, you know what? Not knocking them. Hey, you got the bread, go for it. I mean, they're they don't care. Like, oh, I want that. I don't care what it costs. Oh, the guy, the bid's up to the maximum of $1,800. Hell, I'll throw $3,000 on there. I don't care. So then the bidding war starts, and it goes to the 15-minute rule and whatnot. It ends up selling for $2,300 or something like that because he had a cap of $3,000 on it or whatever, because they don't care. And then all of a sudden, that's it. Does it change the market? Does it somebody go, hey, look, look, that one sold for $2,300. Well, I mean, so that's a little bit of the bad part of it, I guess I could see. But that's it. I'm who am I to, I'm not there to stomp on capitalism or anything like that. I'm all for it. Buy low, sell high. But eventually it's going to put people like myself that make a certain amount of wages and are just trying to jumble through life like the vast majority of us. Eventually, I think I'm probably going to be put out of this market of being a collector. I will have to live vicariously either through photographs or just going on to auctions and just kind of, doing it that way. So it can happen. So anyway, what we ended up wanting to talk about also is a little surprise there, and a big shout out to Danger Man with the mention of Renaissance wax. I actually picked up a little can of it, and yes, that's it. That's what you get. It's $20. It is on Amazon. I figure I give it a shot. He mentioned it. You guys. So I do appreciate that. What is it? I actually really didn't know much about what it is. I've never really even heard of it. So thank you, Danger Man. So what is Renaissance wax? It was developed in England and not bashing on England or anything. I didn't mean to say it that way, but it was developed over there for the museum, for their to preserve their prized possessions. Renaissance wax was originally formulated in the British Museum Research Laboratories in the early 1950s. In response to a discussion amongst the museum technicians at the International Conference of Fine Art and Conservation. Interesting. Okay, so they did a bunch of testings, and basically what they found out was that other waxes have an acid or something in it, but they've got to the point where this one here, the microcrystalline wax polish, does not. And you really do. You use it very sparingly. That's part of the reason why we brought this out. This revolver just happened to be in the reach of grab in the safe that we could grab it out. And of course, it had a little bit of ballistol. Love the ballistol a little bit on it. So let's actually let's go ahead and check this out right here. We'll go ahead and do it. You can see a beautiful blued revolver, and got a microfiber cloth here. We have been actually messing around with this a little bit, but I figured I'd do it here for the sake of the video. Always also cover it back up. Try not to forget and leave it out uncovered because it'll dry out, I'm sure. So we're just kind of working it in here in the side plate. And then Danger Man did say about a week later to apply second coat. So actually we have been using this I have been definitely using it on a couple of tests a little bit, but I wanted to show you on camera because it's actually really cool. I don't know how well the video does it justice, but you can see the reflection of the camera and the backdrop there, the cabinets and stuff, but it does a really good job. It really does. So thank you, Danger Man. We've added this to the inventory, and for stuff like what I do with the videos and actually trying to showcase some of these things and make them really stand out and look good the best they can, because in the end they're the true stars of the show, this will help. This is like a really good makeup for them. So I'm satisfied with it. It is a little pricey, but you kind of, you pay good money for stuff that works, and this does work. It is, of course, it's fairly, you don't get a lot, but you're not using it like crazy. I mean, you're not. It's not like you're using a bunch of it. Really, a little goes a long way. So it's I've been thrilled with it. In fact, we used it a little bit on the slides, on the flats of that recent video that we got out on the Colt Combat Elite. It's actually featured on that. Was able to buff out the flats a little bit better on it with that stuff, so we checked that out. All right, what we have on the showcasing feature here is a firearm, and I actually, there's a couple of things that I own. I feel bad because I don't ever bring them out. I don't ever really mess with them or take them out, and I should. This one here is the Colt Ace. Now, the Colt Ace unit, if you're familiar with it, it came out in World War II, I believe. And originally, all they were just slides. That's why we brought out the War Horse. That you could take the slide off of that and put it on there, and then the soldiers could train for a cheaper price for 20 with 22. All right, and this is what this one here. This is Service Model Ace. Now, later, this is later in the 70s, and that's where this one's from, is the 70s, 78. The first year of the 78, you can see there are beautiful markings there, and it shows the Ace on it. 78, these popped out, and this was the first year production of the Service Ace. The Service Ace is the complete. It was not like just a slide that was thrown on something else. This is actually the first real completed full 1911 with all of that, from what I understand. I mean, it totally could be wrong. Maybe at some point during the after post-war era, there might have been one or whatnot, but from what I understand too, and what also indicates these that you don't have basically a parted out 1911 is the serial number prefix with an SM, and when it does have that, that is an indication. The SM indicates that it is actually built as this. It's not something that somebody cobbled together and then sold it. No, this makes it a true Colt Ace that was originally built like that. So it's got the SM prefix serial number. This is the first year production of the Service Ace, 1978 vintage. These are really cool. What makes these really neat is the split chamber. The split chamber on these are what's really awesome. I think it's either split chamber or floating chamber. And how that works is it's in two pieces down in there. Now, I got a video. Go ahead and check out on the channel. You can actually search the video I have of this thing. And how that it's in two pieces, so it kind of separates and it gives it a little bit more oomph when you're shooting it. Now, that could be for two reasons. It's almost a controversial subject on why that is. Could it be, I think is more logical, is to help work the action. Because this is, you pick this up and you pick up a regular old, 1911 45, there is no difference in the weight. it's identical. I mean, it's just like there's no difference. This is it's all steel. It's not like some of the newer ones that are coming out where it's an alloy frame or alloy slide or something like that. No, this is completely all in itself. It's a heavy gun. So I think the part of the reason he did that was to help with the slide action to make it work. The other theory is to ramp up that feel of recoil. Now, to kind of lay something to rest, they say, oh yeah, when you shoot that 22, it feels like you're shooting a 45. No, it doesn't. That's pretty ambitious. It does not. It definitely feels like it pops a little harder. Especially if you're running something like, which I did run a little bit hotter of ammo in it. It did feel a little bit more like it got a little bit more punchy to it. It does work okay with just regular, run-of-the-mill, high-velocity bulk stuff, but you got to kind of be careful. It might hang up on you or not. I don't remember. It's been a long time since I shot it, but Remington Golden Bullet works fantastic in this, but then again, that stuff works pretty darn good in a lot of other stuff, and that's because it's a little hotter. Now, I did have some stuff by Aguila that was running right around 1400. It wasn't quite a stinger, but it was up there. It was a little bit hotter than most of the other stuff. Now that was pretty cool. It was pretty neat. So I definitely it felt like maybe a shot like a 32 auto or something, or it was definitely not. It felt like a little bit more than a 22. So really neat pistol. 1911 for say. I really like 1911s. Who could tell that? But that was neat. The downfall with the thing is, I really do believe, and I'm going to wipe the ballistol off of this. The magazines for this thing is a big downfall. The magazines are, in my opinion, terrible. They're not really well made. They're just what I mean. I guess it's like really over engineered too. The follower sucks. The follower really just gets chewed up here on the edge, and in order to lock the slide back on the last shot, that present some problems. So if you're looking to buy one, check out all that and make sure that you don't have some issues and whatnot. So. Also, the original magazines here, like this one here, the original Colt ones, where they're, these are the legit Colt magazines. And I actually got 2 of them. I was lucky that a friend of mine had an extra one and he gave it to me. It's definitely been worked on, because when I got it from him, it was, you can tell it's definitely been ground on and sanded on and whatnot. But when you get these, I mean, they are just, it's not even going down there. Yeah. They're just problematic, and they're not cheap. These things are expensive on eBay and stuff. When you find them, if you do find them, you expect to pay 100, maybe more for them. I've seen even people pay, I want to say like $150 for these. Triple K does make aftermarket ones. I have not tried one of those yet. I think I might, just to have one and see how that works. But these the magazines for it, so keep that in mind if you're going to get one. The magazines for it are kind of an issue. So, but other than that, it's actually a really neat 1911. Don't get me wrong, I shoot it. I'll take it out and shoot it and play with it. But I mostly just got it for just the sake of it. It's actually really a cool 1911 to have. So, anyway, before we close some things out, I thought this would be a neat way to close it out with the old warhorse like this. That is kind of a cool example of, really cool example of military. Military standards, I guess you could say, from back then. All right, so what we have here, and I'm really actually happy I got this thing. I actually scored this off of a local gun show, and I got it for a really good price. It's a Union switch and signal slide that is mounted on top of a World War I Colt frame, and completely redone by the military. probably for World War II, obviously, because of the efforts and everything. And it's actually, I looked it up, pretty common to find a Union switch and signal slide on top of a World War I Colt slide, or a frame, rather. And it is all parkerized with that original color, that original patina gray, kind of olive green hue to it that it's got. It's got that, original flat mainspring housing with smooth and everything, so it hasn't been completely updated and all that. So, but it is all the same, matching. And then one of the close things to check for is the slide to the frame, how it fits right here, and it fits flush the way it's supposed to. It's not like off, off kilted or like that. Sometimes you'll see that where they've been cobbled together. So, but no, this is actually the way, from what I understand, this is just kind of the way it got put together there. And I think it's neat. I really do. And it kind of adds that extra leg in the collection and everything. So it's really cool. That right there. So I hung on to it because I think it's a neat, and these things are getting harder and harder to get. And of course, it's it rattles. It certainly is a, it definitely is a rattle trap there, but it shoots really good. I've shot it, and I like those kind of things. So that kind of satisfied that kind of area for me. Do I want because a Union switch and signal is like they're up there. They're stupid money. So anyway. Welcome back. This is a little add-on segment to show you what we featured today on the radio, the collector's radio, which is here. We featured the Smith & Wesson Model 10.5, and it's a really neat one. This is actually the first revolver I've ever bought, so I kept it. And of course the bluing, and of course look at that. I mean, that Renaissance wax stuff really does work well. We will be featuring that on a lot of our stuff that we showcase on the channel, so really neat. The other thing was the really neat, which I think is this really awesome Colt Service Ace. It's a 22 long rifle, 1911, with the floating chamber design. Right there you can see the partition there. And then of course SM prefix serial number, which indicates that it is a true Service Ace. It was built that way. It wasn't something that somebody had a frame to and they cobbled it together. When you actually look up the serial number on Colt's serial number lookup, it's listed under as a Colt Service Ace 22. That's a really cool 1911 there. The other thing that we featured here was the Union switch and signal 1911 from World War II. You can tell by the parkerizing, but what's kind of interesting is this one is set up, and I've seen a lot of Union switch and signals on top of the World War I Colt frame, which is kind of interesting, but the military was notorious for doing that. Remember, they weren't considered collectibles back then. They were just trying to get these things into battle. The Colt frame here indicates also with the the earlier United States property stamp, which is over here. Now, I'm not a serious virtuoso on this stuff, and just kind of know a little bit about them to be dangerous to my own account. There's no scalloping here on the frame, and of course you got the smooth mainspring housing that's flat, and a short grip safety, which will give you a hammer bite with the wide spur hammer there. But it is all parkerized, the awesome grayish green parkerizing, and you can see here the fit between the frame and the slide is actually fairly well. So it's I like it. It's a great example, and it kind of puts a Union switch and signal in my collection. That's good enough for me because, let's face it, don't exactly have $6,000 to spend on one.